Hey there viewers, it's Charlie. I'm back again with another Transformers review. And today's review is going to be on Studio Series 86, Blurr. Now, Blurr transforms into a futuristic, well, for the 80s, hover car. Well, I'd say this is still futuristic because we still don't have cars that look like this to this day. Probably ever, because I don't see how this would ever work, although that's just me. Well, looking at the box for this guy, we of course have the standard Studio Series packaging. Well, prior to the recent redesign where they made it look like the Kingdom packaging. So we got a picture of Blurr here. This guy is number 3 in the 86 line of Studio Series. So he's from the Transformers the movie. Got the inner backdrop, which I'll show soon. This side we've got Blurr. The other side we've also got Blurr. The back we've got him in both modes. Got the Battle of Autobot City, which is the backdrop. Big screen inspired. And we have a little blurb that says that he's defending it until reinforcements arrive, which he did indeed do. So yeah. And we'll just gain the backdrop out. This is pretty similar to the one that came with Buzzworthy Bumblebee Cup. Oh well, and this figure came out before that figure, so Cup's backdrop was similar to this one, only the bits of the backdrop were different. But the artwork is pretty much the same from what I can tell. But if you want to just put Blurr here, if you want to just have him in vehicle mode. But yeah, now getting onto the actual figure, just looking at the detailing. Of course, just got some molded detailing here. Some painted detailing here as well. Got some back thrusters, which let's just go see if they're Blastified compatible. And they are, which is amazing. So if you just want to have them like rocket off, then you can, which is going to be a bit hard because this guy actually doesn't have any wheels. This is when my first stops working. Got the cockpit section here, which is actually translucent plastic. And thankfully, it's in a way where it's not actually structural to the figure, like Jazz. Got a little seat here. So yeah. Pretty much my only gripe is there's no wheels. I mean, I know he's meant to hover, but you can't really replicate that without like a stand. And even then, there's not really a stand port I can see. And even then, he's only meant to hover like a little bit off the ground, so. But well, for accessories, well, we get his gun. It's just a cast of white plastic here. And is this plastic compatible? Well, if you just push it on there, then sure. Oh, that's getting bent. And for weapon storage, this can just go under here. And we also have this welding torch. I mean, sure. Pretty sure he did use a welding torch in one scene of the movie. And this could just go underneath as well. So yeah, weapon storage. At least it's not just plunked on top like the War for Cybertron figures. And well, for comparison, here he is with Titans Return Blurr. So we can just compare the two figures. And you can definitely see a difference in the colors. This is more of a darker shade of blue. Like, this is more of a turquoise. Plus, this guy actually did have wheels. So if you wanted to roll him along, then you could. Whereas with this guy, there's no such thing. Plus, this guy was actually a headmaster. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the comparison. Now, getting into the transformation for this guy, well, going back to the Titans Return figure, this guy's transformation is actually sort of similar to that. I mean, it's not a one-on-one copy, but there are bits of it that are quite similar. You'll see when we do it. Well, to start, let's just take these and untap them, and already this is looking quite similar. Take these bits and just open them up. And just open this out. Once again, another similar bit of transformation. Open that up. Fold in the little, fin section. Then just close the legs. Push in the feet. Push in that little, chest section. Then just rotate all that around. Take this section, then just rotate that to the back. Push these sections in to form shoulders. Get these sections in like so. Turn these sections 180 degrees. Then you're supposed to open these up to flip them around to get the hands out, but you actually don't need to do that. And well, here we have Blurr in his robot modes. And yeah, a lot of elements were borrowed from the Titans Return figure. Namely, the way that the arms transform, the way that the hands transform, and the way that the legs transform. Like, it's not a retool, but it's still quite similar. Now having a 360. Of course, we are left with a backpack, unfortunately. Plus these things on the arms. So if you want to rotate the hands, well, you're left with this. So yeah. Taking a look at the head, I mean, it does have light piping, but if light's not shining through, then, well, he just looks dead if there's no light shining through. So, yeah. Now, of course, giving him his weaponry, we can just give him the gun and the little welding torch, which actually slots over his hand, sort of similar to Hoist's gun. And as I showed, you can't put a blast effect on here. Well, if you just wedge it on there. Plus, you can just give him, like, blasting shoulders if you really wanted to. Plus, the classic laser feet. But, well, if you don't want him to have the accessories, then of course you can just use the weapon storage from the vehicle mode. And that's good because I don't really display him with the welding torch. Alright, so comparison with the Times Returned figure. And once again, you can definitely see the color differences. I mean, the Studio Series figure has got a lot more white, that's for sure. But the Times Returned figure has these bits on the sides of the legs. Oh, and the shield can come off, which, well, the Studio Series figure can't really do that. You know, the arm's gone loose in this figure, fortunately. Alright, so just moving the gun so I can take a look at the articulation. The head can look sort of up and down, and can of course look side to side. On a ratchet joint, or well, in this case a faux ratchet it seems, you can move around. It's got an elbow joint, which can swivel. people have had issues with this being loose, although in my case it does stay. Like, I think it's sort of loose, but it does stay where it is. Blurr can, of course, T-pose. And he does have a wrist joint, although this is connected to it, so yeah, it's a bit awkward. He does have a waist joint, although be worried that this doesn't get in the way. Legs can go forward that far, can go back that far if this doesn't get in the way. You can do the splits. It's got an ankle pivot up to there. It's got a knee joint. If you want to count this as articulation, then he can move his foot forward. Plus this can swivel. So yeah, definitely a bit poseable. Well, quite poseable. There we go. So if you want to get him into some running poses, then you can. Plus, if we just get the backdrop out, there we go. Well, there we go. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about Blurr. So, complaints. I mean, I don't like how the vehicle mode doesn't have any wheels. I mean, I know he's meant to be a hover car, but come on, at least the Time's Return figure had wheels. I know, it's minor flaw, but still. Also, the fact that, like, these bits move along with the hands for the articulation, I just find that a bit awkward. Plus, like, the light piping is nice, but this is one of those few figures where I think the light piping is a bit off. Yeah, if there was no light piping at all, I think that would have been acceptable. But well, those are just my complaints. But well, do I recommend this figure? Well, sure, this is a really nice figure in my opinion. I mean, there might be issues on my figure that might not be on yours and vice versa. I mean, as I said, I have seen people have issues with these. For example, these are a bit more floppy. And they don't even stay where they are, whereas mine doesn't have that issue. So I guess QC is a bit of a gamble on this guy. But if you get one that doesn't have those issues, then it is a really nice figure. And in my opinion, it's one of the most accurate Blurr figures that we've had. Now, the Shattered Glass version, it looks cool, but I don't have it, or at least not yet, so I can't really comment on that. But for this version, it's definitely really cool looking, and I do really like it, so yeah, I do recommend it. Well, this has been my review on Studio Series 86 Blurr, and this is Charlie Young, signing off.